Hello guys. It's been long. Imekuwa kama wiki mbili hivi kabla ni post video ya katiba. So all in all guys, maisha lazima iendelee. So I'm back. Sasa tuendelee kuchambua katiba. The last time tulikuwa tumeongelea about Bill of Rights. Na tulikuwa tumetackle only part 1. So I promised you part 2 pia tutaendelea. Then part 3, 4 and 5 we'll do it together because part 2 is a bit wide. So let's dive into part 2. So I'll read it through. So in short, part 2 inaongelea talks about the rights and fundamental freedom. So in outline the rights and those fundamental freedom as they are in our constitution of 2010, guys. So straight into it. So there is right to life, yeah, right to life. Kuna haki ya maisha, So this is how it says. Every person has the right to life. The life of a person begins at conception, yeah? Wakati tu mimba imetungwa hivi na imeingia, so maisha ya binadamu inaanzia hapo. A person shall not be deprived of life intentionally except to the extent authorized by this constitution or other written law. Abortion is not permitted unless, in the opinion of a trained health professional, there is need for emergency treatment or the life of or health of mother is in danger, or if permitted by any other written law. Guys, enough law, let's continue. Equality and freedom from discrimination. Yeah, that's also an article under part 2. Every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law. Equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and fundamental freedoms. Women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. The state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against any person on any ground, including race, sex, yeah, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, color, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, dress, or language, or birth. Let's continue, guys. A person shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against another person on any of the grounds specified or contemplated in clause 4. Clause 4 above, clause 4 above, the one that I've just read. To give full effect to the realization of the rights guaranteed under this article, the state shall take legislative and other measures, including affirmative action programs and policies designed to redress any disadvantage suffered by individuals or groups because of past discrimination. Any measure taken under Clause 6 shall adequately provide for any benefit to be on the basis of genuine need. Number 8, in addition to the measures contemplated in Clause 6, the state shall take legislative and other measures to implement the principle that no more than 2/3 of the members of elective or appointive bodies shall be of the same gender. As hii imekuwa na issue hapa Kenya, the 2/3 gender rule. So if you have been following, since we had this constitution of 2010, tumekuwa na hiyo kitu ya 2/3 gender rule. So hii inaongelelea hiyo story ya 2/3 gender rule. Okay, let's continue. Human dignity. This is also here in a Bill of Rights, part 2. Every person has inherent dignity and the right to have that dignity respected and protected Freedom, let's go to number 29. Yeah, freedom and security of the person. Every person has the right to freedom and security of the person, which includes the right not to be deprived of freedom arbitrarily or without just cause, detained without trial except during a state of emergency, in which case the detention is subject to Article 58. Subjected to any form of violence from either public or private sources, subjected to torture in any manner, whether physical or psychological, subjected to corporal punishment or treatment, or punished in a cruel, inhuman, or degrading manner. Let's continue to the other number, that is number 30. Slavery, servitude, and forced labor. A person shall not be held in slavery or servitude. A person shall not be required to perform forced labor. Kulazimishwa kufanya kazi wewe mwenyewe, you decide kufanya hiyo kazi. So this talks of that one. So we are not supposed to perform any forced labor. Let's go to another article that talks of privacy. Every person has the right to privacy, which include the right not to have the person, home, or property searched, their possession seized, information relating to their family or private affairs unnecessarily required or revealed, or the privacy of their communication infringed. Let's continue. A flow, yeah. Freedom of conscience, religion, belief, and opinion. Every person has the right to freedom of conscience, religion, though religion, thought, belief, and opinion. Yeah, every Kenyan, that means every person, you have an opinion. Yeah, unaweza ongelelea hii gava vile ina perform, vile wewe mwenyewe unaona, according to you, unaweza toa maoni yako. That's why katiba inaturuhusu unatoa maoni yako, vile unaona serikali inafanya, imekufanyia vizuri kwako wewe. Are you seeing any improvement in terms of roads, infrastructures, schools, security? Katiba inakubali, unatoa maoni yako. Let's continue, guys. Every person has the right, either individually or in community with others, in public or in private. Same thing, inaeleza. To manifest any religion or belief through worship, practice, teaching, observance, including observance of a day of worship. Unaweza chagua ile siku yako mwenyewe unaenda kanisani. Tuko na Friday for Muslims, and then we have Saturday and Sunday for Christians. A person may not be denied access to any institution, employment, or facility, or enjoyment of any right because of the person's belief or religion. A person shall not be compelled to act or engage in any act that is contrary to the person's belief or religion. Inaflow vizuri sana. The fundamental rights and freedoms. Freedom of expression, freedom of expression, like what I'm doing right now. This is freedom of expression. Kuna huru wa kuongea. Tuko na uhuru sisi kama Wakenya wa kuongea, na katiba imetupea hiyo uhuru. Sio mtu anakupea, ni katiba yenyewe imetupea huo uhuru. Freedom of expression, guys. Every person has the right to freedom of expression, which includes freedom to seek, receive, or impart information or ideas, like what I'm doing right now. Freedom of artistic creativity and academic freedom, and freedom of scientific research, like the one that is done in schools, universities, and higher institutions of learning, guys. The right to freedom of expression does not extend to propaganda for war. Propaganda, mambo ya propaganda, yani mshene, haitajiki. Hiyo katiba imekataa. So ukitoa propaganda, That one you are going against the Constitution 2010, katiba yetu ya mwaka wa 2010. Katiba imekataa hiyo. Propaganda for war, incitement to violence, una incite Wakenya wenzako, hiyo katiba imekataa. Hate speech, mambo ya hate speech guys, hii kwanza ni mbaya sana. Wanasiasa they like this one. Mambo ya hate speech, katiba imekataa hiyo. Or advocacy of hatred that constitute ethnic incitement, vilification of others, or incitement to cause harm, or is based on any ground of discrimination specified or contemplated in Article 27, Sub-Article 4. In the exercise of the right to freedom of expression, every person shall respect the rights and reputation of others. Sasa hapa ni heshima tu, heshimu mwenzako kwa opinion yake, na wewe pia utaheshimiwa kwa opinion yako na mwingine as we go on. Freedom of the media, uhuru wa media. Hii media huwa wanaipigania sana. Okay, let's read under freedom of media and then we see inasema nini. Freedom and independence of electronic, print, and all other types of media is guaranteed but does not extend to any expression specified in Article 33, Sub-Article 2. The state shall not exercise control over interfere with any person engaged in broadcasting, the production or circulation of any publication, or the dissemination of information by any media, or penalize any person for any opinion or view or the content of any broadcast, publication, or dissemination. Broadcasting and other electronic media have freedom of establishment, subject only to licensing procedures that are necessary to regulate the airwaves and other forms of signal distribution, and are independent of control by government, political interest, or commercial interest. All state-owned media shall be free to determine independently the editorial content of their broadcasts or other communications. All state-owned media. State-owned media hapa Kenya ni kama KBC guys, ni KBC, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Even the state-owned media have freedom of the media. Wanaweza jichagulia wenyewe what they put across to their viewers and listeners. So even this one, the government itself does not control what they air. So katiba imezungumzia hii very well, very clear. Let's continue kusoma reading, then we see how it talks. Or other of their broadcast or other communication. Be impartial and afford fair opportunity for the presentation of divergent views and dissenting opinions. Number 5 talks of Parliament shall enact legislation that provides for the establishment of a body which shall be independent of control by government, political interest, or commercial interest, reflect the interest of all sections of the society, and set media standards and regulate and monitor compliance with those standards. Okay, access to information. You have a right to access to information. Guys, let me take a sip of water here. Let's continue. Access to information. Every citizen has the right of access to information held by the state and information held by another person and required for the exercise of protection of any right of fundamental freedom. Tuendelee. Every person has the right to the correction or deletion of untrue or misleading information that affects the person. The state shall publish and publicize any important information affecting the nation. And then we continue. We have also another article that talks of freedom of association. This one is very important also. freedom of association. Every person has the right of freedom of association, which include the right to form, join, or participate in the activities of an association of any kind. Yeah, a person shall not be compelled to join an association of any kind, yani hutalazimishwa, ni wewe mwenyewe tu unaamua na unachagua ile kikundi yote unataka kujiunga nayo. Any legislation that requires a registration of an association of any kind shall provide that registration may not be withheld or withdrawn unreasonably, and there shall be a right to have a fair hearing before a registration is cancelled. Assembly, demonstration, picketing, and petition. Guys, this is also a right here in the Bill of Rights. Ya mambo ya assembly and kuja pamoja, kudemonstrate guys, you know very well. Maandamano, picketing yote iko hapo kwa maandamano, and petitioning. Yeah? So katiba ilitambua hii, so tumeona all over Kenya, tumeona walimu wakiandamana, nurses, doctors hata saizi wanaandamana, kuna notice zingine wametoa. Yeah, so in Kenya, this one is allowed under the Constitution 2010. Every person has the right, peaceably and unarmed, to assemble, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petition to public authorities. Political rights. Every citizen is free to make political choices, which include the right to form or participate in forming a political party. Kuna haki ya kujiunga kwa chama ama kutengeneza hicho chama cha kisiasa, to participate in the activities of or recruit members for a political party, or to campaign for a political party or cause. Hii zote ni right ziko kwa katiba. Every citizen has the right to free, fair, and regular elections based on universal suffrage and free expression of the will of the electors. 4. Any elective public body or office established under this constitution, or any office of any political party of which the citizen is a member. Every adult citizen has the right without unreasonable restriction. Every adult citizen guys inaanzia 18 years. 18 years hapa Kenya, you are an adult citizen. Hapo ndo una kuwa raia kabisa wa Kenya, kwa sababu unaruhusiwa kuwa na kitambulisho. You are required to have an ID because you have become an adult citizen, guys. To be registered as a voter, so these are also your right. You can be registered as a voter, to vote by the secret ballot in any election or a referendum, and to be candidate for public office. Unaweza pia kuwa candidate for public office or office within a political party of which the citizen is a member, and if elected, to hold office. All these are rights that are in the Constitution 2010. Katiba ni mzuri sana, guys. It's a very good constitution. Let's continue. Freedom of movement and residence. Freedom of movement, unaweza tembea kokote. Residence na mahali pa kukaa. Sasa tusome hiyo freedom, then we see what it entails. Every person has the right to freedom of movement. Every person has the right to live Kenya. Every citizen has the right to enter, remain in, and reside anywhere in Kenya. Guys, that is why unakaa mahali unakaa, not necessarily ati ni mahali ulizaliwa, unaweza kaa any part of this country. You can stay anywhere, any corner, na ufanye biashara. Unaweza fanya kazi, fanya biashara na kuishi. Let's continue to the other right. Protection of right to property, Yeah. Protection of right to property. Yeah, let's see how property is protected here in the nation. Subject to Article 65, every person has the right, either individually or in association with others, to acquire and own property of any description and in any part of Kenya. Parliament shall not enact a law that permits the state or any person to arbitrarily deprive a person of property of any description or of any interest in or right over any property of any description, or to limit or in any way restrict the enjoyment of any right under this article on the basis of any of the grounds specified or contemplated in Article 27, sub-article 4. The state shall not deprive a person of property of any description or any interest in or right over property of any description unless the deprivation results from any acquisition of land or an interest in land or a conversion of an interest in land or a title to land in accordance with Chapter 5, or is for a public purpose or in the public interest and is carried out in accordance with this Constitution and any Act of Parliament that requires prompt payment in full of just compensation to the person and allows any person who has an interest in or right over that property a right of access to a court of law. Provision may be made from compensation to be paid to occupants in a good faith land acquired under Clause 3 who may not hold title to the land. The state shall support, prompt, and protect the intellectual property rights of the people of Kenya. The rights under this article do not extend to any property that has been found to have been unlawfully acquired. Labor relation, this is also another bill of right and fundamental freedom. Here, labor relation. Every person has the right to fair labor practices. Every worker has the right to fair remuneration. Remuneration hapa ni mshahara guys. Tukiongelea mshahara unaguza watu wengi sana wale wanafanya kazi. To reasonable working condition. Working condition must be conducive. Conducive to you as employee. To form, join or participate in the activities and program of a trade union. Mambo ya union guys, wale mmeandikwa mnajua mambo ya union kazini, ile ambayo inatetea maslahi ya wafanyikazi. And to go on strike, yeah, mnaruhusiwa kwenda kustrike, kwenda kwa maandamano. Every employer, sasa hao ni waajiri. Every employer has the right to form and join an employers organization, au pia wanaruhusiwa kukuwa na kikundi yao kama FKE, Federation of Kenya Employers, and to participate in the activities and programs of an employers organization. Every trade union and every employers organization has the right to determine its own administration programs and activities, to organize and to form and join a federation. Every trade union, employers, organization, and employer has the right to engage in collective bargaining. Let's continue to the other fundamental freedom of environment. Every person has the right to a clean and healthy environment, which includes the right to have the environment protected for the benefit of present and future generations through legislative and other measures, particularly those contemplated in Article 69, and to have obligations relating to environment fulfilled under Article 70, mambo ya mazingira uko na right ya mazingira mahali unakaa yawe masafi for this generation and for the future generation, and that is why Kenya kuna kampeni ya kupanda mti na imekuwa tangu zamani tangu enzi za Moi, wale tumekuwa kutoka wakati huo mpaka sasa, kumekuwa na hiyo kampeni ya ukikata mti mmoja basi unafaa upande mbili. Kama saizi right now kuna hiyo kampeni ya kupanda miti inaendelezwa with our with our current president. Let's continue with the other right of economic and social rights. Every person has the right to the highest attainable standard of health, which include the right to health care services, including reproductive health care, to accessible and adequate housing, to reasonable standards of sanitation, to be free from hunger and to have adequate food of acceptable quality, to clean and safe water in adequate quantities, to social security and to education. A person shall not be denied emergency medical treatment. The state shall provide appropriate social security to persons who are unable to support themselves and their dependents. Language and culture is also another right. Every person has the right to use the language and to participate in the cultural life of the person's choice. A person belonging to a cultural or linguistic community has the right with other members of that community to enjoy the person's culture and use the person's language, or to form, join, and maintain cultural and linguistic associations and other organs of civil society. So hapa naongelea about our cultures. Uko na huru, katiba imekubali, uko na huru ya kuform any cultural groupings so that you continue promoting your cultural beliefs. Let's continue. A person shall not compel another person to perform, observe, or undergo any cultural practice or right. So haulazimishwi, ni wewe mwenyewe willingly una join hicho kikundi. Let's see another right also. The right of family, guys. The family is the natural and fundamental unit of society and the necessary basis of social order, and shall enjoy the recognition and protection of the state. Every adult has the right to marry a person of the opposite sex based on the free consent of the parties. Kuna uhuru wa kuoa. Na hapa uhuru wa kuoa ni person of the opposite sex. So ile mambo ya same sex marriage haikubaliwi hapa. LGBTQ not allowed. Person of the opposite sex. Okay, so tuendelee guys. Parties to a marriage are entitled to equal rights at the time of marriage, during marriage and at the dissolution of the marriage. Parliament shall enact legislation that recognizes marriage concluded under any tradition or system of religious, personal, or family law, and any system of personal and family law under any tradition or adhered to by persons professing a particular religion, to the extent that any such marriage or systems of law are consistent with this constitution. Consumer rights is also another right, guys. In the Bill of Rights, consumer rights. Consumers have the right to goods and services of reasonable quality, to the information necessary for them to gain full benefit from goods and services, to the protection of their health, safety, and economic interest, and to compensation for loss or injury arising from defects in goods or services. Parliament shall enact legislation to provide for consumer protection and for fair, honesty, and decent advertising. This article applies to goods and services offered by public entities or private persons. Let's continue to also another right, fair administrative action. Every person has the right to administrative action that is expeditious, efficient, lawful, reasonable, and procedural fair. If a right or fundamental freedom of a person has been or is likely to be adversely affected by administrative action, the person has the right to be given written reasons for the action. Parliament shall enact legislation to give effect to the rights clause 1, and that legislation shall provide for the review of administrative action by a court or appropriate or if appropriate, an independent and impartial tribunal, and promote efficient administration. Let's see another right that talks of access to justice. Access to justice, guys. This one is very short. The state shall ensure access to justice for all persons, and if any fee is required, it shall be reasonable and shall not impede access to justice. Let's see also another right. Right of arrested person, wafungwa pia wako na right zao. An arrested person has the right to be informed promptly in language that the person understands of the reason for the arrest, the right to remain silent, and the consequences of not remaining silent. Have the right to remain silent. That statement you've heard the statement a lot being used, by the police. The right to remain silent. Okay, let's continue. To remain silent, to communicate with an advocate and other persons whose assistance is necessary, not to be compelled to make any confession or admission that could be used in evidence against a person, to be held separately from persons who are serving a sentence, to be brought before a court as soon as reasonable, possibly but not later than 24 hours after being arrested. Tumekuwa na issue sana, unapata watu wanaarestiwa on a Friday night, Friday evening, then anakuwa presented in court on a Monday. So that one is more than 24 hours. So the right of this person, this arrested person, zimekuwa violated automatically. So in fact, anaweza sue those police that will arrest because they have presented him or her in court past 24 hours, because it is saying, but not later than 24 hours after being arrested, or if the 24 hours end outside ordinary court hours, or on day that is not an ordinary court day, the end of the next court day. At the first court appearance, to be charged or informed of the reason for the detention continuing, or to be released, and to be released on bond or bail, on reasonable conditions pending a charge or trial, unless there are compelling reasons not to be released. Hii tunaona sana hapa Kenya, watu wanakuwa released on bond or bail, and na shughuli zake as he or she awaits trial of his or her case. Let's continue. A person shall not be remanded in custody for an offense if the offense is punishable by a fine only, or by imprisonment for not more than 6 months. Let's see also another right here in the Bill of Rights. This one that's called fair hearing. So this one concerns the arrested persons. Every person has the right to have and to have any dispute that can be resolved by the application of law, decided in a fair and public hearing before a court, or, if appropriate, another independent and impartial tribunal or body. Every accused person has the right to a fair trial, which includes the right to be presumed innocent until the contrary is proved, to be informed of the charge with sufficient detail to answer it, to have adequate time and facilities to prepare a defense, to a public trial before a court established under this Constitution. Let's continue, guys. To have the trial begin and conclude without unreasonable delay, to be present when being tried unless the conduct of the accused person makes it impossible for the trial to proceed. Na hii tumeona sana actually, hii tumeona sana mtu ameshtakiwa anakuwa present kotini, ingawaje the lawyer is representing him or her, but he or she is still present in the court. So this is part of the right, yeah, of a fair hearing. To choose and be represented by an advocate and to be informed of this right promptly. Yeah. Chagua wakili wako vile nimesema akuwakilishe. To have an advocate assigned to the accused person by the state and at state expense, if substantial injustice will otherwise result, and to be informed of this right promptly. To remain silent and not to testify during the proceedings. To be informed in advance of the evidence the prosecution intends to rely on and to have reasonable access to that evidence. To adduce and challenge evidence. To refuse to give self-incriminating evidence. To have the assistance of an interpreter without payment if the accused person cannot understand the language used at the trial. Na hapa mara mingi I've seen in court, yeah, ile lugha yenye unaelewa wewe as an arrested person ndio itatumika. If it is Swahili, it will be used. English, it will be used. Your mother tongue, utapata mkalimani, interpreter, yeah, wa kuinterpretia, wa kufanya wewe mwenyewe uelewe kwa ile lugha ambayo unaielewa vizuri bila tashwishwi. Used at the trial, not to be convicted for an act or omission that at the time it was committed or omitted was not an offense in Kenya or a crime under international law. Let's continue. Not to be tried for an offense in respect of an act or omission for which the accused person has previously been either acquitted or convicted, to the benefit of the least severe of the prescribed punishment for an offense. If the prescribed punishment for the offense has been changed between the time that the offense was committed and the time of sentencing, and also if convicted, to appeal to or apply for review by a higher court as prescribed by law. Okay, this one is very practical, guys. Ukiwa umekuwa tried at the magistrate court na wewe mwenyewe as the arrested person unaona kuwa haijazingatiwa, haki yako haijazingatiwa, maybe you feel like the judge amepewa kitu kidogo, amehongwa, unaweza appeal to the court of unaweza appeal. Ulikuwa tried at the lower court, that is the magistrate court, unaweza weka appeal high court, then from high court you can still proceed to the court of appeal, and from there we have the Supreme Court of Kenya. That is the highest. Yeah, let's continue, guys. If convicted, okay, let's continue to the number 3 in the same article. If this article requires information to be given to a person, the information shall be given in language that the person understands. Evidence obtained in a manner that violates any right or fundamental freedom in the Bill of Rights shall be excluded if the admission of that evidence would render the trial unfair or would otherwise be detrimental to the administration of justice. An accused person charged with an offense other than an offense that the court may try by summary procedures is entitled during the trial to a copy of the record of the proceedings of the trial on request, and has the right to a copy of the record of proceedings within a reasonable period after they are concluded, in return of a reasonable fee as prescribed by law. Yeah, a person who is convicted for a criminal offense may petition the High Court for a new trial. If the person's appeal, if any, has been dismissed by the highest court, which the person is entitled to appeal, or the person did not appeal within the time allowed for appeal. And and new and compelling evidence has become available. In the interest of justice, a court may allow an intermediary to assist a complainant or an accused person to communicate with the court. This article does not prevent the exclusion of the press or other members of the public for any proceedings if the exclusion is necessary in a free and democratic society to protect witnesses or vulnerable persons, morality, public order, or national security. Parliament shall enact legislation providing for the protection, rights, and welfare of victims of offenses. Let's see another right, guys, and this is the last right in part 2. Right of persons detained, held in custody or imprisoned. Yeah. So mtu ikiwa ameshikwa na amefungwa, still akona right zake bado. A person who is detained, held in custody or imprisoned under the law retains all the rights and fundamental freedoms in the Bill of Rights except the extent that any particular right or a fundamental freedom is clearly incompatible with the fact that the person is detained, held in custody or imprisoned. A person who is detained or held in custody is entitled to petition for an order of habeas corpus. Guys, you remember this term also? Tulipitia in the previous part 1 in this Bill of Rights. Parliament shall enact legislation that provides for the humane treatment of persons detained, held in custody or imprisoned, and takes into account the relevant international human rights instruments. Guys, that comes to the end of part 2 under the Bill of Rights. Guys, we have seen all the rights, yeah, all these rights that you are supposed to enjoy as a Kenyan. So the next episode will be we'll be tackling part 3, specific application of rights, because this one is very short. So part 3, part 4, state of emergency, then part 5, Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission. So all these 3 parts, they will come as one episode. Part 2 imekuwa a very good lesson to learn in this Bill of Rights. So guys, let's continue supporting this channel. As I've told you before, the channel is Vance Empire TV. and my name is Governor. Let's continue supporting the channel, guys. Let's grow this empire together. I'm talking this knowing that we are in the festivities. Wase wanajinais, wase wanajienjoy. So in a few days time tutakuwa Christmas, and in a few weeks New Year. So very soon, guys, I'll be wishing you a Merry Christmas in my other episode. So guys, I thank you for still subscribing to the channel. Subscribe, guys, subscribe. Tell a friend to subscribe. Tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe to Vance Empire TV. My name is Governor. Thank you. See you.